SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Have you been seriously injured? Mama Justice is here for you. Our medical team partners with top-notch doctors, surgeons, therapists, and urologists, ensuring a comprehensive recovery journey. If you've been injured, call Mama Justice today. We're here for you.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C Spire. Power your home or business with C Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C Spire. C Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Everyone, and welcome to MidDays, SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, along with Rhino in the Element Wealth Studio, guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this Hump Day. And a dang hot one out there it is as well. Of course, all of these the hyperbole around the heat. Aren't we used to that now? Shouldn't we know better?
Yeah, I mean, it's late July in the Magnolia State. People that have been here longer than about 6 minutes should know we've got about another month.
Yeah, but just all this warning, which, I mean, it's appropriate, but, gee, do you really have to go to that length? It's interesting.
It is funny when you see pictures of the weatherman or weather lady or meteorologist or whatever they want to be called.
Yeah.
On the TV. From 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And the change in how it is portrayed.
Something
as simple as 95 degrees was a bright yellowish orange. Now it's bright red, danger.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. Just seems a little over the top, but I guess it gets the old clicks, as they say. It's kind of what that does. So we got a lot going on. I trusted that your little bit of time off there was enjoyable.
Oh, yeah. I completely unplugged. I didn't see a single thing that was political until 6 o'clock this morning.
Oh, God.
It was glorious. Hung out with friends, did pub quiz,
Good.
Talked to my dad for a bit yesterday,
well,
or
good.
2 days ago, because he didn't hear me on the radio, and he's like, I'm just making sure you're not fired or in jail.
Well, we held down the old fort, as they say. Enjoyed our day yesterday at the Mississippi Municipal League annual conference on the Gulf Coast with a splendid view of the Gulf of America there from the foyer of the Coast Coliseum. Great facility, that is. Well attended, as it always is. Had an opportunity to visit with many of the municipal leaders from across the state. That's always interesting, for sure. I had one open segment yesterday, by the way, 11 interviews. So that can be a bit taxing for those of us in the hosting business. Today we got, this is a friend of mine, Jamey Meredith. He's the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called ClearGreen. I was introduced to this company several months ago, October, November of last year, I believe. So this company, ClearGreen, that Jamey is associated with, has created a line of agricultural products which are all organic. So I thought it would be a timely discussion with the focus on the Make America Healthy Again movement, and then one also here within the state from Commissioner Andy Gibson. You've seen lots of companies of late sort of do their part. They've made some adjustments to their products. The latest, I guess, Coca-Cola now going to offer a drink, their Coca-Cola product, their flagship product, will be sweetened with pure cane sugar. At first, it was kind of teased by the president, and Coca-Cola said, well, not so fast, Mr. President. We hadn't made that decision. But from all indications, Rhino, looks like they are going to proceed on that basis, right, and sweeten their products with pure cane sugar, like the old days. So it's my
before New Coke.
Okay, so it's my understanding that in other countries,
Mexican Coke still uses cane sugar.
Okay, literally is we have an American Coke and a Mexican Coke, right? And
you get that big, long, tall glass bottle.
Okay,
that's got real cane sugar.
Okay, so looks like they're moving in this direction, going to pursue this as a strategy for an approach.
I don't think they ever officially came out and fessed up to it, but that was New Coke. The whole deal with New Coke is they were making it with cane sugar. They figured out, hey, we could make a lot more profit if we substituted high fructose for cane sugar.
Yeah.
But we can't just do that, or people will say, hey, the Coke tastes different. So they came out with New Coke, and everybody hated it and said, bring back Coke Classic, and there it is. Coke Classic came back made with corn syrup instead of sugar, and nobody knew the difference.
Okay, well,
because it was that much better than New Coke.
Let me say that I'm taking my cue here from an interview I caught with the CEO of Coca-Cola yesterday. Sure sounded like they're moving forward with this.
I'm talking about back in the 80s.
Okay, gotcha.
That's when that happened.
Gotcha. Okay. I just want to make, but I just want to make sure I'm clear that initially when the president said something about this, a couple of weeks ago, the Coca-Cola company didn't just come right out and say, yep, that's right, Mr. President, we're moving forward. But in the last few days, it appears they have, and that is their plan. So, and then yesterday in the one segment we had that was open, I touched a bit on this federal judge, Wingate, who has blocked Mississippi's anti-DEI law. Recall that was passed this past session. Applies to K through 12, all schools at all levels in the state of Mississippi. And he approved a request for a TRO, a temporary restraining order, brought up by a group of plaintiffs, which includes the Mississippi Association of Educators. The ACLU is representing the plaintiffs. Now, a rhetorical question for you here, my friend. Where do you think the Mississippi Association of Educators stand on education freedom and school choice? Do I need to ask that question? These are card-carrying leftists, and that's being kind. Maybe not as crazy left as the national associations, one of which I heard this morning in an interview with Senator Marsha Blackburn from our state to the north, Tennessee. I think I got this right. I wasn't aware of this. One of those national education unions has a federal charter that allows them to establish their union. And the senator this morning was talking about revoking their federal charter. I think I got that right. You might want to check me out on that. I caught it while I was getting ready to leave the house.
Yeah, the NEA.
It's the NEA, yeah. And they have their charter is...
They hold a federal charter under Title 36 of the United States Code.
Okay, so I heard it right. And Senator Blackburn says, not so fast. You guys are so anti-America, so anti-government. But more importantly, I think the big thing that prompted her call to revoke their charter is that they're essentially defying and disobeying the president's orders with respect to DEI in the schools. I believe that's the problem there. So if we got into a point where, if you just don't like law, you just disobey with it and fail to comply with it, you don't like that, so it doesn't fit your political agenda. In this case, it's all about that. And it's disturbing that this judge, in my view, but if you know anything about this judge, that's probably not surprising that he would side with the ACLU here in their representation of the Mississippi Association of Educators. So they say, by the way, it violates, I think, the First and 14th Amendments. You know what shocks me? I shouldn't even say shocks because it doesn't shock me. Maybe what angers me and aggravates me, how about that, is that these people don't think about the notion, the concept, really the fact that all this DEI stuff is just codified discrimination. It's institutionalized racism.
Well, it's because they've convinced themselves that racism has to include a quote-unquote power dynamic.
Okay.
Which takes away any of their obligation to look inward at their own prejudices and biases.
Okay. I'm with you.
Because if you're a person of color, well, obviously the system is against you, so there's your power dynamic. It's impossible for a person of color to be racist towards a white person because of the power dynamic.
And that is the contention. It's widely held.
It's stupid.
But it is, it happens across the spectrum.
Stupid people are born every day.
The good news is I saw a graphic yesterday with the logos of all the companies that are rolling all this stuff back. Remember, they all just jumped into it, with both feet in their heads as well in 2020, thinking that's what everybody wanted in the country. And now they're realizing, no, this isn't what everybody wants. Not only that, we might ought to think about, making products or services that produce a profit and serve society while doing so. Oh, what a novel idea. Besides Jamey Meredith today at 11:05, it's Jay McDaniel with the Gaming Commission at 12:05. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
At Fillmore
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Gerard Gibert. He keeps his classified documents right where they belong. Inside a Journey record jacket from the 1980s. Gerard Gibert, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We're back with you in the Element Wealth studio. Are you thinking about or planning for retirement? Do you have a plan? Go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006 to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. The Dow presently up about 190. The NASDAQ's been kind of hanging around the unchanged line. The S&P also in the green. The NASDAQ now up 30 points. Oil has kind of stayed in there sort of consistent in that $65 a barrel range. Really hadn't seen much change in it in several months. And Exxon just reported earnings last week, reported a decrease in net income. The supply chain seemed to be fairly stable, that of oil, and that's why I think you're seeing the price stay relatively constant for quite some time as well. Yeah, oil trading $64.89 a barrel at this moment today. The funny money, up and down, up and down. What's it, about 117,000, I think?
Yeah, I just checked it. It's 118 as of right now.
All right.
Yeah, it's not quite up to the 120 highs, but still well above what I paid for it.
Yeah, pretty good run, though. The president not happy about Jerome Powell. He's going after him again today, demanding that he reduce the benchmark interest rate. Now, the Wall Street Journal, there's been some, by the way, this is where I'm going with this, have actually called for a lawsuit against the Fed. Not the Wall Street Journal, some in Congress, pardon me, have called for that. And the Wall Street Journal had an article about that this morning. And they're issuing a warning about that this would not really be a good move. But some lawmakers say that, that his actions or inaction are worthy of a lawsuit. That's kind of far-fetched, it sounds. criminal perjury referral is what they want. That's their angle. That's the basis for the suit. And what they're saying is when he came to Congress and he testified that he wasn't honest. Now, the problem you run into here, and this was about the future of the economy and interest rates and monetary policy and all the stuff they were grilling him on, and they're right in that you and I have said many times, what do they mean it's temporary and transitional? Transitory was the word they used right over and over. You're not just him. We might as well go after Janet Yellen as well. Of course, she's not in office anywhere, but perjury's perjury. It doesn't really matter. It is true Jerome Powell still has a lot of power as the chairman of the Fed. Janet Yellen's essentially out of power, the former Secretary of the Treasury. Totally unqualified, in my view, for that job under Joe Biden. That's the way Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pronounces it. You ever seen her? Joe Biden. But they want to go after him. They said that he perjured himself when he went before Congress. Also, they're complaining, rightfully so, about the renovation of the Fed's Washington, D.C. campus, running way over budget at about $2.5 billion estimated now, up from $1.9 billion when this refurbishment project began. It's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. I mean, these are office people just doing economics and stuff. They don't need these kinds of this kind of splendor in their office and these extravagant surroundings. So there's talk about Mr. Trump fired him, and of course, like I said, it's Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who is a Republican from Florida. She's the one that referred the Fed Chairman Powell to the Justice Department. And the accusation, again, the allegation is that he lied under oath. This was about the building project is what she's going over. But I've seen others say, yeah, he lied under oath when he came to the Hill to just give us an update on economic conditions and Fed policy and so forth. So it's interesting to see where this goes. No doubt about it, though. There are concerns from the White House about Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. I just don't think he's prepared to change his posture. And he doesn't totally control the benchmark interest rates. That's controlled by all the Fed district governors. There is a committee. They make that decision. He does influence it, no doubt about it, as the chairman, as the president of the Fed. So we'll see where that goes. It should be interesting to watch that. But I don't think lawfare is the right thing to do there, honestly. I mean, even if you're mad about these cost overruns, I don't know if it makes sense to throw a lawsuit at them. Let's just address the problem, get things right. Home prices hit a record high in June, which are dragging down sales. So you got the combination of home prices rising and interest rates hanging in there. The 10-year Treasury drives mortgage rates. It really hadn't changed, staying in that 4.4% range. Usually interest rates 2 to 2.5% for mortgages, 2 to 2.5% above that mark. But yesterday, the president made an interesting announcement, and I completely agree with this, and that is he supports eliminating capital gain taxes on houses. Now, you remember, Rhino, during the election when Kamala Harris, who knows zero about taxes and tax policies, or not a lot of other stuff either, to be true, but there was a narrative, I'm going to call it that, from the right that, yeah, when you sell your house, her tax policy would require that when you sell your house, you would pay income taxes on the gain of the sale of that house. And that was all over the place. Well, that really wasn't part of her agenda. What they were talking about is taxing capital gains as ordinary income. That was
political Facebook memes were wrong.
No.
Say it ain't so.
So no disrespect to my numerous friends on the right that thought this was true, and I attempted to very respectfully and civilly just inform them, no, that's not really what this is about. But you remember all that a little bit. That's, we move from issue to issue so fast these days. That's so far long ago, it seems. But nonetheless, capital gains, the sale on your house, which is the difference between what you paid for it essentially and what you sell it for, that would be the gain. If that exceeds $250,000 as a single filer or $500,000 as a joint filer, the excess, in fact, is subject to capital gains taxes. Now, I suspect most people tuned in, I don't know this for sure. I just suspect most don't have a $500,000 if they're married gain in their house if they were to sell it today. I don't think most people own $500,000 house. Well, I know that to be a fact. In Mississippi, I'm talking about. Of course, several do. I'm not saying that there's none, but my guess is also if that's the case, they probably recently purchased those. Recent as in they haven't appreciated that much in value. Not like some parts of the country, and you know what I'm talking about, where they bought a house 30 years ago, and since then the price of housing in those areas, D.C., Virginia, San Francisco, just as that Bay Area as examples, through the roof, man. I mean, a bungalow in San Francisco, right, it's $1 million. What you could buy a palace for in Mississippi is for $1 million. So, eliminating capital gains taxes, the president suggested yesterday, and in fact, a couple of members of Congress have got legislation teed up, ready to go. So, the point is there are a lot of people that are sitting on houses that, should they sell them, would in fact produce a taxable gain. In other words, more than $250,000 as a single person, $500,000 as joint filer. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of those that's got legislation called the No Tax on Home Sales Act. Would eliminate it. So the president believes this would sort of create some churn in the housing market and unwind the housing shortages, which we just reported to you, are seen in the rising price of houses. Now, there are a couple of organizations, the National Association of Realtors. I was a little surprised at this. They say that 34% of homeowners of 29 million people, they believe possess enough equity in their house to exceed the exemption caps of $250 single and $500 married. 34%, that seems high to me. So, nonetheless, the president yesterday said, I support this. Actually, he had this discussion on July 13th. It's just now kind of making its way out into the news. This would be good. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
I'm all shook up.
From the Seabird. The stories that matter most to Mississippians. Gerard Gibert. Middays with Gerard. Super Talk, Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Wealth studio. So while we were discussing that, just with the business channel on here in the studio, they were just doing an interview about the home sales for the month down, and also displayed a big graphic of the median price of a home in the United States, $433,000 median. So that means half the houses in the country are priced above that and half below that. That's a pretty high number there, 433. I mean, that's so right in the middle is unaffordable for a lot of people, especially with the high interest rates. And so the combination of eliminating capital gains on the gain on the sale of your primary residence that the president is pushing for, and, of course, him really prodding Jay Powell at the Fed to lower the benchmark interest rates are in an effort to stimulate the housing market and get get housing affordable and get people in houses.
For context on the housing price, according to Realtor.com, that is a 1% decrease compared to the previous quarter.
The median home price?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a 32% increase since the first quarter of 2020.
Makes perfect sense. So the COVID stuff really screwed it up, right? So, you know what happened there is we shut the economy down, misguided shutdown of the economy, and that really, and of course the interest rate fell to nothing. So as a way to kind of keep things moving since so many people were at home. And the refinancing boom was crazy, and just new home sales were crazy, and that caused the prices to increase. You just had a plain old excess demand over supply. And so now things
especially with a wide open border.
No doubt about it. And the left refuses to acknowledge that pressured the housing market. And it's amazing when you think about it, Rhino, just how many problems that caused. There's just a myriad of problems caused by the wide-ass open borders. Pardon my French there. I just get mad about it. And it wasn't too long ago we were on the show, in the studio, and I had the TV on. There would be a report every day about a caravan approaching the border. And as far as you can see, people just entering the country illegally and just being dispersed throughout the country. And it reminds me, I think I sent you a video, which is, again, I'm not going to use the word shocking anymore because I'm desensitized to crazy stuff. This is a House rep, if you got it there, from, is it Massachusetts? I think, or New York. New York, excuse me, the Bronx area.
Yvette Clark.
Yeah, Yvette Clark. Hear what she has to say.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
Yeah.
Give them long enough, they'll say the quiet part out loud.
So she's basically saying what we all knew and suspected and believed that they denied, which is, I need more of these people in my district to vote for me, to keep me in power, because that's the most important thing of all. I got to stay in the Congress. Is that what she's saying there?
I don't think she explicitly wanted them to vote for her. She just needs the warm bodies for the census for redistricting purposes.
I got you.
It's just as bad.
Right. The same objective, though, the same goal. So did I?
Political power through allowing others to break the law.
Did I hear her use the word diaspora?
Diaspora.
Diaspora is the correct word.
I don't think she used it correctly.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I mean, I'm familiar with what that means. That has to do with like a population dispersion.
That's scattered, yeah.
It's from the word dispersed, right? Dispersed. Yeah, I don't know all the derivatives there and the origins. But, when I heard that, that doesn't really make sense. We have a diaspora here? That's not really the correct way. That's what she said, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what she meant, what she was trying to say. She doesn't either. It's the truth. But there it is, unveiled, uncovered, not concealed. She's saying, I need him here so we can get the districting right so I can maintain my seat. I think that was the message there.
She did have to get the party-approved scriptural inference in there, though.
What's that?
No room in the end.
That's right. Oh, my gosh.
You can't come out and publicly say that you believe Jesus is the Lord and Savior, but you got to act like you still believe in the Bible if you're a Democrat. That way you still get at least some votes. What's their approval rating at now? 19%?
I think it's below 20. That's correct. Yet they keep leaning into this crap. I did see, I'm trying to get him back on, by the way, Representative Ro Khanna. You remember he was on the show with us, kind enough to join us a couple of weeks ago. And when we asked him about Zoran Mamdani, the Democrat nominee for mayor of America's largest city, New York City, and he said something to the effect, no, I'm not endorsing him, but I am glad that he's calling attention. I believe I'm representing this correctly.
It's the same song and dance they're all doing at this point.
He said, I'm glad he's calling attention to these issues, the cost of living issues, essentially. But in the last couple of days, he's officially endorsed him. Have you seen this? And so I'm trying to get him back on to talk to him about that and see what – because at that point, when he was on the show at least, he was very noncommittal about it. Didn't really say much about the candidate, focused on the policies, and thought that, again, his bringing those policies to the forefront of just the cost of living in New York City, he thought was a worthy cause for the candidate. But now he has officially endorsed him, is what I saw. He is also combining with working with some Republicans in the House about the Epstein files. So there are a lot of folks that are bad because the Speaker of the House sent them home a day early, fearing that the Democrats were going to force a vote in the House that I'm not exactly sure what the nature of the legislation would be or the resolution, but that would force the DOJ, I believe, to release everything they have. And so the Speaker sent everybody home.
Do you mean like the resolution that told them they had to release everything they had on UFOs?
Yeah, how'd that work out?
We're still asking questions.
How long ago was that?
Been a minute.
Yeah, I think so. So folks are upset, though, that the Speaker said, hey, go home for the August break. And he started that break a day early. It was expected that today the Democrats were going to force that issue for a vote in the House. But that's obviously not going to happen, and we'll see where all that lands. But, it's another thing where you've got interesting bedfellows. You got Representative Khanna, who endorses Zoran Mamdani one day and then combines with some of the MAGA folks in the House that want to see the Epstein files and whatever information is within.
Somewhere Massey's just sneezing because you called him MAGA.
That's true because he's
just
part
having a
of
sneezing fit. He's like, I don't know why I'm sneezing out of nowhere.
You're right about that. He would not describe himself as MAGA, but he is among the other reps who are described as MAGA that are calling for the release of this information. Is that fair to say? I think that's relatively accurate. But I
think it's a portion of MAGA that's exceedingly online that seems to be obsessed with it.
Oh, you mean they want attention?
Yeah.
I see. Well, this is something that no doubt is fracturing the Republicans, I would say. There are strong feelings on both sides. And these are people who honestly are staunch supporters of the president. And the president has said, let's move on. Let's move past this. But there are people who are big time aligned with the president, support him, that are saying, not so fast, Mr. President. Let's get this information out there. Get it released.
In the 5 days I was off and the dozens of people I talked to in the real world, it came up one time as a joke. It's not that big of a story.
It just seems like that's where it kind of fits. That there are a lot of people who say, I really don't care, let's move on. There are other people that are just obsessed with it, right? So they're kind of no in between, I would say.
It's because they've spent this entire time with the vacuum of information filling it with their own nonsense. And then when their nonsense didn't turn out to be true, they got upset.
It does seem that way. I would agree. We're stepping aside for a break. We got another segment in this hour, and then Jamey Meredith with ClearGreen. Stay with us.
Now Leroy, he a gambler, and he like his fancy clothes, and he like to wear.
Is your
MidDays with Gerard.
Good for America.
Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
Super Talk Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Well, that would be Black Sabbath. Sorry about the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. Part of course, the iconic group Black Sabbath. You know who was on the drums there, don't you? Tommy Aldridge. Guess where he's from? Pearl. He's from Pearl. I knew of him growing up when I was a young, aspiring drummer. He's a little younger than me. A little older than me. He also played in Whitesnake. Aldridge did. He was one of the first I can remember to bring about the double bass drum kit. But he's more famously known for his performance and his work with Black Oak, Arkansas. Not a band a lot of people are familiar with. Great rock band of the 70s. Kind of hard rock like that. Heavy metal. Tommy Aldridge, self-taught drummer. Pearl, Mississippi. Drummer in Black Oak, Arkansas. Black Sabbath. Whitesnake. A couple others he was part of as well. Interesting. We just produce lots of great musicians here in the state of Mississippi. There ain't no doubt. Across the genres.
And it seems like the more timeless musical acts of a generation are choosing, and I hate to use that word because I don't mean to say that Ozzy was anything other than just he passed.
Yeah.
But he's now the second big name musical artist to kind of have a final bow and then exit stage right. Because you remember David Bowie put out the whole Goodbye album, and like within 24 hours passed. Ozzy just had his farewell concert, and now he's just passed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like the rockers are choosing when to burn out.
Man.
Which is about as rock and roll as you can get.
That is true. By the way, Tommy Aldridge, the drummer, he graduated from Pearl High School, 1968. 1968. He also played in Thin Lizzy and played with Ted Nugent. So it's all that same style, same genre. He was just a really good, solid rock drummer, man. But I'm not trying to, of course, negate the fact that the rock star Ozzy Osbourne passed away at age 76. But the Mississippi connection is intriguing to me with Tommy Aldridge. And like you, most people don't know who this guy is. I just know him because when I was trying to be a drummer when I was younger, he's a few years older than me. Just the idea that we had this big-time, recording level drummer from Pearl, nearby Pearl, on the double bass set. It's just amazing to me. And the Clarion Ledger did a nice article where they talked to Tommy about Ozzy Osbourne. So, Mississippi connection there. A lot of people aren't familiar with Black Sabbath, Tommy Aldridge, the great drummer, and, of course, Ozzy Osbourne played his final show, as you said, at their reunion. I think it wasn't here, was it? Wasn't it in Europe somewhere, as I recall? Their final show. But you're right about that.
I don't even know where it was.
Yeah. So, on the C Spire text line, I didn't get to this Monday, and I apologize, and it was from Bo in Indianola, and we were talking about health care and just some of the issues with availability of health care services and quality of services. He let us know that he lost his mother on Sunday. I'm so sorry to hear about that, Bo. He said, as upset as I am, it opened my eyes how bad hospitals are in the Delta. Ruhlville Hospital had no doctor at the emergency room. She needed immediate surgery. was at the hospital, and there wasn't a doctor. It took 8 hours of them to get an ambulance to get her to Vicksburg, where it was too late. 3 ambulances for Sunflower County. It's the largest county in Mississippi. I didn't know that in terms of the land, the area, square miles. It's a problem. Yeah, and I hear you, Bo. And again, man, really, our condolences, thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family on the loss of your mother. That's just terrible to hear. And along those lines, I caught a report. I got to read the old Boston Globe every day, where there's a shortage of, even in a densely populated area, such as Rhode Island, Massachusetts, next door to each other. 300 women had to cancel their annual OBGYN appointments because there's a provider shortage. There just aren't enough of them. And we certainly need to do something about that. We need some work there. And, of course, part of those practices involve screening for cervical cancer and the like, and you just don't have enough people doing this. So it's something that we're grappling with not only in Mississippi, but I was surprised to see that this is even a problem in a densely populated, more affluent state such as Massachusetts, Rhode Island. We're stepping aside for Fox News and SuperTalk News. Jamey Meredith with ClearGreen is next.
Hour of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
That's what I like to listen to.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays. We're coming at you live from the Element Wealth Studio on this
Hump Day.
So a couple of corrections. We just found out that it's Yazoo County. It's the largest county in terms of landmass size, area, not Sunflower County. But Sunflower County is a big one, though. I didn't know it was Yazoo, honestly. Both Delta counties, so that kind of makes sense. And Ozzy Osbourne's last concert, in fact, was in his hometown, Birmingham, England, that someone on the C Spire text line sent to us. Yeah, Dan in Hattiesburg. Chris Pontotoc sent that as well. Dan in Hattiesburg said, yeah, I thought it was a Yazoo. And Dave from Ripley, who previously said it was, something about that, said, yep, it's Sunflower. Pardon me, it's Yazoo, not Sunflower. Yazoo, and I bet Sunflower second. But right now it's Jamey Meredith, the Chief Revenue Officer for ClearGreen. Hey, Jamey, thanks for coming in.
Hey, Gerard, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So you and I have talked quite a bit over the last several months about this line of agricultural products that ClearGreen has innovated. So, of course, you know a lot about this. You've educated me on this. Yes. I don't come from that world, but I have been just fascinated to learn. Talk to the people about exactly what ClearGreen produces. Exactly.
Well, ClearGreen is known for being toxin-free, all natural, made in the USA. Everything we have is made in the United States. We have our weed killer, which is called Done. It's 100% natural and 25B exempt, which is EPA exempt. We have our surfactant, which is systemic. Systemic is a carbon surfactant that drives into the root, so it takes the weed killer down into the root. We also have our Vital Soil, which is a microbial product. It's the only natural, 100% natural microbial product with over 300 species in it.
Okay.
We also have Microbe Stock, which is for your livestock and your animals, which is also a microbial product, which has over 300 we say 300 because that's what the scientists have named, but there's actually over 3,000 species in it. And those are living organisms that go into the ground. And the systemic is the supercharge for that. It is what makes it drive into the ground and into the roots. And we are here in Mississippi. This is my home. This is the state I love. And we are here because from what we're seeing, the farmers are losing money in the state of Mississippi for the most part. And our products can increase their revenue, increase their crops in some cases by up to 30, 35, 40%.
So you've been meeting with farmers. You've been
Yes.
in Mississippi for a couple of weeks now.
Yes.
Traversing the state, meeting
Yes.
directly with these farmers. And you shared with me that many of them have expressed just concerns about their economic viability.
Oh, yes. And many of them have expressed looking for ways to get out of farming, which, would hurt our state if the farmers decided to close up shop and put other things on their land or sell their land and quit farming. And it's a major revenue producer for the state.
The biggest industry in the state, yeah.
Yes. And my family is from the Delta. My mother was born in Benoit.
Yeah.
And my parents live in southern Mississippi, down around Hattiesburg and Oak Grove. I lived in North Mississippi and was all through, Oxford, all the way down to Jackson, all the way down to the coast. And I love this state, and I've seen what the farmers do for this state, and they're a huge part of this state.
So talk to us, Jamey, about the testing of these products. How would you know they work? What's happening along those lines?
Well, we have numerous third-party tests. When we go out, we actually don't test it anymore because we demonstrate the product to people. There are things that we can use like a microbiometer, which tells you the microbial levels in the ground. We can use a refractometer, which tells you the Brix levels, which systemic increases the Brix levels. Our microbial product increases Brix levels in the plants, which brings out the sugar in the plant itself. We've done third-party testing with universities. University of Florida, we have an extension agent that tested our weed killer. It was funny because they looked at me and said I was crazy, that it would never work, that they were walking around the testing site before they started spraying it, basically calling it a joke. And they sprayed our weed killer on Kogan grass, which Kogan grass is one of the most invasive species in the country, in the world. And when they walked back out 24 hours later and it was gone, it was dead, they were blown away because they were using imazapyr, diquat, and glyphosate on that to kill that product. We walked out with an all-natural weed killer and systemic, which is basically 2 ounces of this surfactant, and we wasted it. And not only that, in the test, there was a document written up that was presented to the Florida Horticulture Society that showed up to a 90% kill. The best they'd gotten with all the chemicals they could put out on it was a 65% kill.
Huh. Yeah, you sent me some photos before and after.
Yes.
And honestly, I never heard of Kogan grass until you and I met and started talking about it. Mm-hmm. And then when I bring it up in around people that are in the agricultural business, man, yeah, that's like their eyes get pretty big and bright because it's a huge problem. It's prevalent in the state of Mississippi as well.
Yes, they quarantine the land in Mississippi when Kogan grass is found because when it blooms, you can't walk through it, drive equipment through it. You can do nothing to it because the bloom spreads, and even on a tire, it'll spread. And when this stuff spreads, it's like wildfire.
Okay. So these products can eradicate it without using super harsh chemicals because this glyphosate stuff is what you hear a lot of people talk about is just not good for human ingestion, and it's used a lot in these products, right?
Yes, it's used on crops. It's used in on the weeds to try to kill the weeds. It gets into the water system, and as you said, there have been issues in our country with glyphosate, and I believe everyone is familiar with that.
Yeah.
Our product is 100% natural. We have my beautiful partner in this life. We have sprayed. We are on a farm. We're on a 120-acre farm. In fact, she's probably bush hogging today. We sprayed this product out. Our cattle have eaten it. Our horses have eaten it. Our dogs have gotten in it. Our dogs have she had accidentally sprayed our Yorkies with it. They're still alive, still kicking, still running around. No one is hurt by this. And
so I hate to interrupt you, but what would happen if you sprayed your dogs with more traditional chemicals?
Oh, they're gone. They're dead.
Okay.
They're going to get sick. If they don't die, they're going to be extremely sick.
So the point here is that you get the same results, the same effect without these harsh toxic chemicals. Is that the idea?
Actually, a better effect.
Okay, a better effect.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're going to kill what's there, and if anything comes up, it's because our surfactant is so healthy for the ground that what's under the ground may come up, but then you go spray that and it's gone.
I see. Okay. So how does this kind of integrate and dovetail in with this MAHA movement that we've seen really take hold in Washington with RFK Jr., Mehmet Oz, all those guys are all about just healthy lifestyles and in improving the quality and the health aspects and the food we ingest, all these ultra processed products, but not just that, but even just plain old bread, right, that comes from wheat that often has these chemicals have been used to treat the wheat.
Right. And with our microbial product, you can cut back up to 80%, and in some cases 100% of the nitrogen fertilizers and the things that are put in our crops right now that make people sick. This is perfect for the MAHA movement because our microbials go in. Not only do they make the product make it healthier, they produce better, bigger vegetables.
Okay. We got a break right now, but if you can hang around, we can keep talking.
Sounds great.
All right, we got Jamey Meredith, the Chief Revenue Officer of ClearGreen. Stay with us.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
We're rolling. Hit it. Go. Play it.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Well studio. We did have a question. I would like to hear what study shows that traditional herbicides make pets sick. Well, what I can pass on, just a quick search. Rhino, I'm sure you probably saw the same. There are numerous lawsuits that have been filed against the makers of what they call forever chemicals, that for those reasons that it just stays in the land, in the crops, in the environment for a long period of time, contaminates, can make livestock sick. But there are numerous lawsuits that maintain that there are potential link to cancer and other health problems in both humans and health. So I don't know that I could point to any studies, but I don't know. It seems to me like if you just drank a bottle of Roundup, you probably wouldn't do very good doing that. It seems kind of common sense to me, right?
Well, it'd be pretty bad for your kidneys.
Okay. Well, I would imagine the same would be true for
mammals' kidneys.
But let's be honest. It's the same is true if you ingested a bottle of Tylenol, right? I mean, and I bring that up because there are gazillions of lawsuits
that
about
would kill
that.
your liver before it kill your kidneys. But
okay. Your innards, essentially.
You'd have problems.
So I think that's just kind of common sense. So we did have a couple of questions I was going to pass on to Jamey. Jamey Meredith,
fairness,
by the way.
You asked what would happen if you sprayed down your animal with it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a bit more than, it was on this leaf and they brushed against the leaf and then they licked their fur.
Sure. Well, that makes sense.
Difference in exposure.
But I think the point that Jamey's making, and I don't want to speak for him, but if you sprayed an animal with your product, no effect.
No effect. In fact, you can spray around your livestock as you're walking along, and if the livestock happen to come eat the wet grass, it's not going to hurt them.
Okay. So this is a question. Can you spray this over any crops, and will it kill pigweed?
Yes, it'll kill pigweed.
Okay.
But this is a non-selective contact herbicide. Now, it does not translocate. You can spray around your crops. You can spray on your rows, but you cannot spray the crop itself with it. It will kill everything that is hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, is that what other products do as well? I mean, is that similar to other products?
Roundup is – now, there are forms of weed killer out there that are selective.
Okay.
That can be sprayed, and the crops are immune to them. The problem is you're still putting chemicals on your crops.
Okay.
So.
I know that we've done shows before with the good folks at Ag Up. They're the big John Deere dealer in the state. And I know that, they have talked about implements they have, tractors and so forth, these big agricultural machines that have got intelligence, literally artificial intelligence, where as the device, as the vehicle is moving or whatever they call it through the rows there, that it can discern between an invasive crop or an invasive species, I guess, plant, and a good one.
Yes.
And it would apply selectively.
Yes.
So would this be applicable?
Yes. If you are able to keep from spraying the plant, you can spray around a tree. You can spray around a rose bush. You can spray around a plant. It's not, as long as you don't get it on the plant, it's not going to translocate in the ground. And it leaves the ground, say, we tell people 24 hours. You don't plant, but you can plant after 24 hours.
Okay.
But if I may, our microbials are, people call them a bug in a jug, but they are living, breathing microorganisms. Each microbial reacts a different way to whatever you happen to be trying to grow or whatever, what have you. But in making the ground healthier, you get less weeds.
Okay, that makes sense.
So even though we don't have a selective herbicide, when you put the microbials in the ground, you're going to get less weeds.
Gotcha.
It's just a natural effect.
Someone from LS Rock and Dirt on the C Spire text line says, what is this Kogan, right, is the way to pronounce it, grass-killing product called? I'm working in and out of my truck. So this is Jamey Meredith with ClearGreen. You could Google it and find their website with a full description of all the products out there.
ClearGreen.info.
Right? ClearGreen.info. Gotcha. Okay. ClearGreen. That's the key thing. So we got several people saying I'm coming in late to the conversation. Can you say the name again? So hopefully we got you going there. Is there use for this product in the turf world? That's a question.
Oh, yes. We work with golf courses, athletics fields. It's been sprayed in South Haven on several softball, baseball, football fields around the edges. Now, you don't want to spray on the turf.
Okay.
But you can put the microbials on the turf, and it's going to make the turf healthier, and it's going to make it thicker. It's going to make it much better.
Choke out the invasive stuff, unwanted.
Yes.
Yeah. Derek from Carrollton says, does he have anything that will kill brush in a pasture? Can't seem to get rid of them. Thanks, I'll be listening.
Well, we have a 120-acre farm, in Oklahoma, and we have killed bull thistle with it. So if he is familiar with brush, bull thistle is a form of brush. You have to soak it. You want to saturate it, and you may have to go back a second time and spray it, but that's with anything.
Okay.
But yes, you can. And there are some things we haven't tested. There are thousands of weed species out there, but there are some things we haven't tested on. But I would be glad to either send someone or come out myself and test anything.
Okay.
We're not afraid of that. We're not afraid to get out there and show people.
Sure. Is there a retail home version of the product is the question. You got anything like that yet?
Well, you can use it, but no, we don't have retail locations at this time.
That's what you're working on, right? Yes. And we are in the state of Mississippi. We are looking for people that would be interested in becoming a distributor because we are the manufacturer. So this person says, no one will use it because all our crops are Roundup ready. What does that mean exactly? Their crops are resistant to herbicides. Means their crops are Roundup ready to spray. But that's basically what we had discussed earlier. Yeah. Okay. So this is a viable alternative to those products. Very much so. That's what you're all about. And the no one will use it, that's not what I'm hearing. I have met with numerous farmers that are excited to see what this will do out there. Because in the state of Mississippi. Yeah. And, Kogan grass can be in the middle of a pasture. Kogan grass can be off to the side. But the fact that it spreads and needs to be quarantined when it blooms, late summer, early fall, you want to get rid of it, and this product will do that without hurting the crops, without getting chemicals on the crops. We got another one here that says, but we don't spray glyphosate on crops within 2 months of harvest. That way the chemical is metabolized out before it's harvested. That may be true on that farm. Some farmers do, some farmers don't. Okay. So is there an application for your products there where situations where they're not able to do that? Yeah, if you can go and spray over cover crops, you can spray with a crop duster, you can spray however you want to before you plant to kill off the cover crops so that you can go back in, and it dissipates in the ground. It does not stay in the ground, but when you spray with systemic, our silver bullet, it will make the ground healthier. It will raise brick levels. It will make what is in the ground healthier. It does that itself. What are your plans, Jeremy, for distribution and just widespread availability? You working on that? We're looking for distributors, yes, and we have several distributors that are very interested in taking the product and moving forward with it. Have you run into, in your moving across the state, have you run into any farmers that say, no, this just doesn't work for me, I don't have an application? Or it's really amazing. No. Okay. Not one. Okay. Not one. In fact, what I tell people when I walk out to them with our microbials is we are looking to put ourselves out of business. What I mean by that is when you bring the microbial levels in the ground up so high, you have no need for our microbials any longer. But that's why I want to do this for my state. I want our crops to be the best crops in the country. Gotcha. And you're going to be over at the Neshoba County Fair, you told me, next week. So will I. So will we. So we look forward to talking to you over there. Sounds great. Jamey Meredith, the Chief Revenue Officer of ClearGreen, has been our guest. Thanks for coming on. Thank you, Gerard. I appreciate you. You bet. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
From the SeabrookPaint.com.
Okay, is everybody ready?
I'm ready. Ready here.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Slowly got juju eyeball, he won holy roll.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Element Well studio. So I thought that was the purpose, Rhino, just thinking about this need to be precise and exact when you apply these products. You don't want to apply them to the good species, the good plants, but you want to apply them directly to the invasive, the bad plants, the nefarious plants. I just remember talking to the John Deere folks regularly when they come on the show, the Ag Up, the good people at Ag Up that sponsor some of our remotes, and they're talking about these super sophisticated John Deere tractors that have sensors and AI built into them, right? That as they move across the field, they can determine what's good and what's bad, and then respond, react, apply accordingly. So it sounds to me like, and I get it, maybe everybody doesn't have one of those newer type style tractors that have that technology built into it. But man, John Deere is an incredibly innovative company. I never forget 7-8 years ago, there was a big announcement in the IT industry about them acquiring their own dedicated data center out in Silicon Valley and all the engineers that went along with it. And it just further illustrates what I've seen just evolve through the years, that they're really a technology company that happens to make tractors. The one that first kind of fit that description to me was FedEx. FedEx is powered by incredibly innovative technology behind the scenes, which has just progressed dramatically, exponentially, since Fred Smith founded the thing, 40-so years ago. They're a technology company that just happens to deliver stuff. That's what they do. They ship and deliver stuff. But their campus in Memphis, they were one of my customers, had a small piece of their IT stuff. Their campus is really, it looks like a Silicon Valley technology company. That's what it looks like, because it's mostly technology people that power all that stuff behind the scenes. And I know that's kind of off the subject a bit. But I do think it does appear to me that there's some application here that makes sense. And I got to say, like I said earlier when Jamey was on, I've never heard of Kogan grass, but I'm not in that business. But, man, when I mentioned it to a couple of people right after I'd met those guys, and they sent me the photos of before and after, and you heard him talk about the people that were kind of in a state of disbelief, yeah, that's a huge problem. I didn't know. And, we talked to Andy Gibson about it, and he hears from the agriculture community, and they've all, of course, conveyed that that's just a big problem. It's especially a problem, I'm told, in Florida, which is where they've had a lot of success in the testing of those products. So, who knows? I know about the GMO stuff, and that's been a controversial matter for some time. People are concerned about that and how the ingestion of products that have been modified for that purpose is causing health problems. I don't know how much of that can be directly pointed. It's a little difficult, but it's enough so that if there's an alternative, so we can just eliminate any question about that, that would make sense to me. If it doesn't cost any more money and produces the same or better results, sounds like it makes sense to me. But there ain't no doubt that since the president was elected, he's had a significant initiative towards making our food healthy and adopting healthier personal practices. It's a big problem in our country. We spend a lot of money on just taking care of the health of people that could be avoided with better lifestyles and certainly with better diet. And that's a huge thing. And if part of that problem with the diet is all these doctored up products, because that's what they are, right? With all the dyes and the chemicals that are used in agriculture. And I understand, the EPA says all that stuff's fine, but I don't know. Color me a bit skeptical about government in even in those kinds of standards. So it's something to certainly take a hard look at and explore. And I've talked to Jamey quite a bit. They kind of found me several months ago. I don't know exactly how, and called me out of the blue, honestly, to introduce me to this. And I was intrigued by it. Again, this is not something I have expertise in. I freely admit that. But it did make sense. And I thought it was worth, at least talking to, like, we've had great engagement from people on our text line, because I know we have a lot of folks that tune into the program that are scattered throughout the state in the agriculture business. And it's no secret that many of them are struggling economically. It's becoming it's a more difficult business than it seems like it has been in the past. I'm hearing especially that, I know from the cotton growers, that there's some issues that they're facing just from a financial and an economic perspective. You remember when the first interview we did with the lieutenant governor in the last session, like a week into the session or so, and there was almost an emergency situation where our farmers, many of them, were unable to get the financing that they need. You know how that works. They borrow money from the bank to put their crops in the ground, and then they pay it back after harvest. And a lot of our banks were kind of wilting on them and saying, you know what, you guys aren't doing too well. We're a little nervous about loaning you this money. So I just believe anything we could do to improve their financial situation without sacrificing yield makes sense. And maybe this is a part of that solution. Simple as that. That's why I want to have Jeremy on to talk about that. So Lisa in Clara, Mississippi says, coconut grass is all over the sides of our highways and interstates. And, I never realized that until I learned what it was and started paying attention to that. That's absolutely true. No doubt. I remember traveling 49 when I was a kid, when it was two-lane, between here and, say, Yazoo City, and, it gets a little hilly. And the two-lane highway there was just completely off to the sides, the shoulders, and up the hills and on the bluffs there, just covered with kudzu. It's just amazing how that stuff grows. And I suspect if that gets on a farm, that's a big problem, because you talk about growing like a weed, it literally does. I mean, like you could watch it grow, it seems like, and multiply. Interesting. I've cut as much seed oil out of my diet as I can, especially cottonseed oil. I lost 40 pounds on the C Spire text line. That's fantastic. Don't quote me on the numbers, but at one time only 2 to 3% of the crops grown in USA, it's on the C Spire text line, are straight to consumers. Most of all crops are sold for feed purposes or oil. When they get ingested by chickens or cows, the GMOs are normally taken out by the animal. Okay. Thomas, you are the consummate naysayer. I'm waiting for you to say something positive one day. Might that happen before I perish from this earth? I've never seen somebody just throw up so many roadblocks to everything.
I mean, that's what nitpickers do.
Unbelievable.
They derive joy from picking nits.
Gotcha.
Most of them can't see the forest for the trees, though.
I mean, Thomas is a very smart guy. There ain't no doubt about that. But, it's at some point, it makes a little sense to start thinking about solutions and seeing things from a positive perspective instead of just constantly berating and degrading and castigating. I mean, I could come up with more words. It's at least worth exploring, is the way I look at it. And I do think that there are a lot of people in this country that are concerned about their health. And it's a good thing that attention's been called to that since this president's been in office, and he has an agenda, and he's surrounded himself with people that are working on that agenda. We want to see people be healthier and live longer lives, and it's not good when our life expectancy is below that of many other Western countries, for example, and Eastern countries as well. That shouldn't be the case, given how much we spend for health care. We got to get to a point where we don't need as much of it, because a lot of it's, I think, self-induced. And that shouldn't be that way. We got to do better. Man, GMOs are one of my subjects, says Chad in Van Cleve. We have we can have GMOs or go back to spraying, I don't know how do you say that, pyrethroids on every acre every week, folks would really be fussing if they kept finding worms in their corn. I got you. Jack in Jacktown says kudzu originally brought in to help with erosion from China. That makes sense. That's why it's all over the bluffs, right? Holds the dirt in place. Makes total sense. But I don't know this for sure. I just suspect it's a problem when it gets in your row crops. I think that would be a bit of a problem. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio. Jay McDaniel, the executive director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission, at 12:05.
Poly up a It's so awesome! Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Come on, let's get on with the show!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mississippi Queen, if you know what I mean. Mississippi Queen, she taught me everything. Way down around Vicksburg, Louisiana way. Baby, if the game is lady, I want to make her Mississippi. You know she was a dancer. She moved better.
Little Ozzy Osbourne. I didn't know he did that tune. Remade the Mountain tune, Mississippi Queen. So JT Mitchell, our news director, sent me an article they just put up on the supertalk.fm website entitled, Did Ozzy Osbourne Ever Perform in Mississippi? Looking at the late rocker's legacy. Turns out he did. Multiple occasions. Took the stage 4 times at the Coliseum, twice at the Coast Coliseum, twice at the Mississippi Coliseum. And on March 4th, 1983, he performed in Biloxi. A year later, as part of the Bark at the Moon tour, Osbourne played in Jackson. On June in 84, Biloxi, also in June, a couple of days later, 84. So, interesting. So, the world-famous Perez Hodge, who used to, of course, be on the air here. And before that, he was at WZZQ, Z106. He says he attended Osbourne's final concert in Jackson and remembers it as hot, wet, loud, and, quote, a good show. That sounds like the way Perez would describe it. That's awesome. So appreciate J.T. Mitchell for digging up that history about who many believe is the father of heavy metal rock, Ozzy Osbourne. So Thomas is still dwelling on the selective application of the product. And I think, Thomas, you really didn't hear much of the discussion about perhaps the more redeeming qualities of the products, and that's the microbials. And again, that's a little bit over my head, but I will say this, that the CEO of the company, a guy named Jeremy Lamont, who I've talked to a few times, he did send me lots of technical information about dissipation of glyphosate. And it's, again, a bit over my head, and I'm not going to read all to you. I appreciate Jeremy for doing that. I mean, he's really the scientist behind all this. And he says that the ClearGreen products microbial consortiums, they've got numerous products, have demonstrated the ability to accelerate glyphosate and AMPA breakdown because it enhances the microbial or uses microbials to enhance the metabolism. Typical ClearGreen field applications report glyphosate degradation within 2 to 4 weeks under optimal treatment conditions. So, again, this is a highly technical matter because you're talking about chemicals here. You're talking about complex products, and it we kind of touched on the surface here in 2 segments. There's a whole lot more to be known about that, but Jeremy is in the area and is willing to come talk to people. He's made me aware of that. You can check out their website, ClearGreen. Look it up. It's all out there.
Didn't he say if you got a new plant that you want to try to kill with it, they'll come out and test it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, DJ in Summit says, I enjoy the debate you and Thomas have. His opinions make for some interesting discussions. Unfortunately, the best of good intentions bring too many invasive species of Florida and fauna?
Flora and fauna.
Okay, gotcha. Into this country where they have no enemies. Kudzu mammals in New Orleans, carp. Yeah, I get it. Oh, boy, let's see. Yeah, so, Jack and Jacktown, remember, said, it was kudzu brought in from China to help with erosion, which made sense to me. So it's interesting. These a new family of sophisticated products that are, again, designed to provide crop protection and fertilization and increase yields without harsh chemicals. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line here. So these guys, again, are meeting directly with farmers. Let the market make that determination. That's not something we can do here. I certainly don't have the expertise to, but sounds to me like, as you pointed out, Rhino, they're very willing and to work with some of these farmers to test some of their products out just to see what kind of results they get. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. What do you got to lose at that point? Especially if it could save you money and improve yields. And, of course, there's a lot of work you got to do to protect against the runoff and the dispersion of all these products as well. I'm sure there's costs associated with that. So if you can avoid those costs and really not sacrifice any of the other benefits of those products, it makes sense to at least try it out. Ronnie from Ackerman says, can you tell me the website name for the chemical company? Yes, ClearGreen. I think it might be, did he say ClearGreen? .info. There you go, ClearGreen. That's the name of the company, though. That's a great Journey song. You don't hear much from there. Don't hear it a lot. Daydream. Coming right back after Fox News, Super Talk News with Jay McDaniel.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Hour 3, the afternoon portion of Middays from the Element Wealth Studio on this
Hump Day.
And we're pleased to welcome now Jay McDaniel, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission. Jay, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, good to see you, too.
So give us a quick update on the status of the gaming industry in the state of Mississippi. We just completed a fiscal year, of course, here in the state. How did we do?
Yeah, so halfway through, I'll just report calendar year for right now.
Okay.
For the gaming numbers. Yeah. A lot of the states on the fiscal, the reporting, we just got our June numbers in recently. So 6 months into the year, our overall statewide casino gaming revenue is down about 0.5%, a little less than 1%, which is not bad. The last few years, we've been down 2 to 3% annually. Right after COVID, in 2001, we had a fantastic boom, and it's retracted a little since then. But this year, looking at the past three, it's actually a little less of a slowdown. So that's good. From our standpoint, from an agency perspective, we did have a good fiscal year, a good positive year. Not a lot of changes to laws, anything like that. It's kind of business as usual. But we've been really busy. Our main focus right now is, in addition to our regular regulation of legal gaming, is attacking the illegal gaming. That's just a big problem right now. Mobile and online gaming is just, it increases annually. And so just trying to put our resources towards stopping that, because every dollar spent on illegal is taking money away from our legal market. Lottery, gaming, bingo, all of that.
That's right.
So, that's what's keeping us busy right now. But the industry's pretty healthy right now. We're hoping that the rest of the summer goes well. A lot of these conferences and things going on in the summer months really help the coastal market particularly. But everything's going well right now.
Okay. Yeah. What about any expansion, new plans, new projects?
Not on my desk. We've had a couple of sites down on the Gulf Coast that have been approved as far as just being a legal site. The city and the county, Harrison County, City of Biloxi, are really working hard to try and, I think, motivate new development. So they've been agreeing to some leases down there with some potential developers. And at this point, all we've said is, well, the location would be okay. That's kind of the first step. And then they've got to go bring in the money to build it. And to date, I just don't really have any of that. A lot of talk, as always. I think our market's always of interest to gaming developers. But when you're talking about where to put your resources, where to put capital, it's a tough market to get into. It's very, very competitive. So,
how's the industry doing, Jay, on a nationwide basis? How are we doing in Vegas, Atlantic City, and so forth?
It's a good question. It really depends. We have so many gaming jurisdictions. It varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Overall, I think going into the end of last year, I think everybody was up. When I say everybody, collectively in aggregate, gaming was up. I think this year we're starting to see a little bit. I think early part of the year, maybe the economy, new administration, all that might have changed a few things, because the reports I saw in first quarter were some dips, even in Vegas, just on visits and things like that. But the last one that just came out for June, I think we've seen another positive quarter. So I'd say it's either stable or just slightly below right now compared to where we were last year.
Okay.
And it depends on the market. Again, if it's Nevada, if it's Vegas, it's still heavily driven by tourism.
Yeah.
Your smaller markets are just kind of what the local population has as far as discretionary income. So, but I think gaming overall, it's just a lot more players in the market. You're seeing more get into it. Again, a lot of them may be coming into it the wrong way. Illegal operations, I think, are putting a big dent in the legal operations. Right?
Well, the other big draw, I'm sure, of just activity in gaming are these big conferences. And, we had a while there during the COVID era when all that was kind of put on hold. But it seems like we're back to sort of normal in-person type events.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at our numbers, while I mentioned gaming revenue being down slightly, the visits are really fine. It's just maybe less spend.
Okay.
But as far as people traveling, coming to the casinos, we still get a lot of out-of-state revenue here. And like I said, some of these, that's really what drives your gaming. Even over in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, they rely a lot on that as well, conference-driven out-of-state visitors.
Yeah. So that, I would think that bodes well for the industry overall, because they do generate a lot of revenue from those events.
Absolutely.
When they come in, lodging revenue and food and everything associated with that. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, and your events on the coast, things like cruising the coast, and maybe they're not necessarily gaming events, but just having those events in the market, will drive people to stay in our hotels and enjoy some recreational gaming while they're there.
Yeah. That's awesome. So the revenues to the state this past year, what were those?
So last year, the end of 2024, we had a little over $2.4 billion in gaming revenue. That's
right.
Just our casino gaming, and the state gets 8% of that, so it was just under $200 million. I think it was around $194 million to the state, but then another 4% to local markets, so you can add almost $100 million to that. So just short of $300 million. To the state and local markets off that $2.4 billion.
Okay.
Our total tax rate is 12%. So.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and we have a low tax rate, so it's one of those where while the state, not only do we get the tax revenue by having a good favorable tax rate, it gives the properties more money to put back into their product, which is what we hope.
So that's going well.
It's going well.
Yeah. Yes. The big beautiful bill that just passed here a couple of weeks ago. How might that impact the industry?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's caused a bit of an uproar. It's one of those things where it's funny what provisions of those bill get a lot of attention. But in the gaming industry, there were two provisions that really got a lot of attention. One, very favorable. The taxable amount on a jackpot that you win on a slot machine. If you win a jackpot on a slot machine, it's been since 1977. If it's $1,200 or more, that machine locks up and they have to come to a W-2G for you and withhold on that.
Interesting.
And so that number for 48 years has been $1,200. So there's been a big push from the industry to raise that limit. If you take today's dollars, it should be over $6,000. And $1,200 jackpots are not uncommon. So the big beautiful bill did raise that number to $2,000 starting in 26, and then there's a cost of living percentage adjustment every year thereafter. So it's going to slowly rise. So it will be less, a little less burden on our properties. When someone wins a $1,500 jackpot now, they'll be able to just keep on playing. You basically play until those credits accrue. But so that's positive for the industry. The other item that was not as positive is when you win that taxable jackpot. It used to be that your winnings you could fully reduce 100% by your losses.
Right.
The big beautiful bill caps that percentage at 90%. So just a simple example, you win $2,000 on a slot jackpot, the W-2G shows you've got to report that to the IRS. If you put that $2,000 right back in that night, you could deduct the full $2,000. Now you can deduct $1,800. And you're going to be taxed on something you really never walked out there with. So, some would argue, well, if you win, you better keep 10%.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is one of those provisions that certainly Nevada, I think some of the Nevada legislators immediately are trying to amend that portion of it. But, the industry doesn't like it because, again, it might push people to an illegal market where they don't even report, revenue.
Right.
Gamblers don't like it, obviously, because a lot of people do lose what they win, and they want to be able to deduct that. So at the end of the day, that's not a huge percentage. That's only if you itemize deductions. So it doesn't impact everyone. But, again, it's one of those that I think not a lot of people are happy about it. I can't imagine the IRS is even happy because it just complicates the tax code more.
It's not a huge deal, but it could. But you're right; it's more complicated than anything.
Yeah, and the estimates I'm reading is that the reason it was put in there was it's being looked at as a $1 billion offset. And so when you have these tax cuts, I think a lot of people feel it was put in there to for the other side to boost revenue, and they're saying up to $1 billion. But, there's some confusion over it. What if you lose more than you win? Can you deduct 90% of those losses over and above so that you do net a zero? And no one's really got a clear answer on that right now. But just be wary. If you're a gambler and over the years you've always been able to just offset it, just make sure you and your accountant get together on how to handle that next year.
Can't do the 100% anymore.
That'll be starting 26.
26?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Interesting. So... nothing else out of the bill, though, that would affect you?
Not in the gaming, not that I'm aware of. I haven't read every page of it, but those were the two highlights in the gaming industry. And like I said, from our properties, the increase in the jackpot is certainly helpful. So whether they kind of take the good with the bad, but the other one really affects the gambler more than the property. I think from a property perspective, from a casino perspective, your worry is that it might, again, push people, I'm not going to gamble if I can't fully offset my losses. I'm not going to gamble here. I'm going to go again to someone who doesn't report my winnings.
Well, we'll see.
It's one way to look at it.
Should be good. Anything else before you go?
No, I just glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the industry's doing well.
They are.
And when I was on the coast yesterday with the MML, all the properties looked like they had full parking lots.
It's always good to hear, and good to hear if as long as they're keeping things in good shape for our consumers. That's what we like to hear.
Absolutely. Jay McDaniel, Executive Director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission, has been our guest. Appreciate it, Jay. Thank
you.
We're coming right back in the Element Well studio.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Well studio. Appreciate Jay McDaniel Executive Director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission, for joining Middays. Yeah, casinos looked like they were hopping when I was down there yesterday, and that's just from I did go into the Bow on Monday evening, met some friends, and saw a bunch of the folks attending the conference there. But just driving around the town there, certainly going across the bay from D'Iberville into Biloxi there, where you come through 110 and dumps you out there on 90. You could see some other casinos, and they all look to have full parking lots. So that's good, man. Good to see that stuff. So there's some recent polls that show that 62% of Gen Z supports socialism. What do you think about that? Are you surprised?
A little bit.
Well, I don't know what to think about that. It's seems like they're really making a lot of headway, are the socialists in the country, as far as persuading young people to be more, I guess, in tune to socialism. They just don't seem to hear a lot from the other side, but they're wanting to kind of burn the whole place down. Zoran Mondani, of course, is kind of the new left-wing version of Trump and is attracting lots of the people in New York City to support him. He won 56% of the vote, and that was fueled by a bunch of young, healthy, I should say wealthy, highly educated people that believe in reviving socialism here in America in 2025. A Cato Institute poll recently run shows 62% of those Americans between the ages of 18 and 29 hold a favorable view of socialism. 34% have a positive view of communism.
Which is a bit of an ironic statement, considering these are the same people that purport to believe over anything else lived experiences, yet they want to completely ignore the lived experiences of those who have lived under socialist and communist regimes and how terrible life is under those regimes.
But they don't seem to respond to that, I guess, is what I can't figure out. Why is that?
Well, a large chunk of them have been coached to respond to that line of opposition with, well, real communism, real socialism hasn't been tried yet.
Okay. So they think it just hasn't been implemented correctly. You've heard some of them say that.
To a certain extent, yeah.
It just depends on how you implement it. If you implement it correctly, it's just fine and dandy. 62% Gen Z, that's the age 18 to 29, hold a favorable view of socialism. A whopping 34% of communism. Do you think they really know what that means, though?
No.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Not at the ground level, no. They might have a 30,000-foot view of it purely academically, but no, they are not old enough or wise enough to have enough understanding of human nature to see why it fails.
I guess that's right. And you got this guy, Mondani, running around touting the virtues of socialism and communism, and all they see is, wow, government's going to take care of me. It's going to cost me less money, and they don't understand all the other downside drawbacks of such an economic system, because nobody's talking to them about it, is what I would say. So that's, I don't know. It disturbed me, though, to see that it seems to be gaining ground. I'll just put it that way. And that's bothersome. It's not sure why, other than a bunch of left-wing loons on campuses that are pushing them into all this stuff. But there's also, of course, this crazy person in Minneapolis, another far-left nut, Omar Fatch, That's the man to beat in Minneapolis. He's got a...
Is it pronounced Fatch?
No, Fata. Pardon me.
Yeah.
I think I mispronounced it. Pardon me. Fata. The man to beat in Minneapolis has some past history. Fraud allegations? Ethics problems? Say it ain't so.
Well, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but he is Somalian, so I mean.
Yep, I agree. 35 years old. He was under investigation. He used to be in the Senate there, the state Senate. The Senate Ethics Committee investigated him over 2 complaints involving his campaign in 2020. Oh, man. Campaign finance law violations, absentee voter fraud. We're not surprised by this whatsoever. The chair, Republican Party chair in Minnesota, Alex Plakash, I think I said that right. He said this about Mr. Fata. It seems incredulous to me that the DFL endorsed somebody like this with those scandals in his background. That would be the Minneapolis Democrat Farmer Labor Party. That's kind of the Minnesota's Democrat Party organization. Oh, geez. Endorsed by the Minneapolis DFL, Omar Fata. And he may be even further left, honestly, than Zoran Mamdani, if that's possible. But he sure seems like a wacko, is what I would say. And that's, again, another very large American city that looks poised to have, a self-avowed socialist as their mayor. And he's maybe even more communist-sounding than Mamdani, who, of course, wants to seize the means of production, which is straight out of your favorite Karl Marx's playbook. You have described him many times, taught us things about him personally that, honestly, I didn't know about just him.
Yeah, he was a worthless waste of oxygen for his entire adult life.
And lived in squalor, right? It's just crazy stuff. But so it's no wonder that he's just a loon when it comes to public policy and certainly economic policy, for sure. But that's exactly what's going to happen. Meanwhile, the president's cutting trade deals, and the markets like it. The Dow's up 400 points at this point. Big trade deal with Japan. I don't know if you saw the response from the Japanese automakers from a stock price perspective. Through the roof when this was announced. Tariffs reduced from 25% to a standard 15% on goods imported from Japan. And also, it looks like that they're going to reciprocate somewhat. And they've also announced a bunch of investment in the country as well, up to $550 billion. Indonesia also will face a 19% tariff. That is a reduction from the current 32% tariff that was put on them not so long ago. Still working with China. But this announcement about Japan, the breakthrough there that came about late yesterday, was a big deal. And the president said they're tough to negotiate with. He said they and Indonesia are tough negotiators. So it's Indonesia, Japan, a handful of some other smaller countries that a deal has been cut with. So looks like that they will be saved from the August 12th deadline. South Korea, Thailand, no agreements yet. The economists say the tariffs inevitably will dent growth in Asia and the world, but I haven't checked Nissan, Toyota, Honda today, 3 Japanese automakers, but man, their stock really rose sharply in after-hours trading. Haven't checked it since the market's been open today, but as a result of these tariffs. Now, this is still somewhat problematic for American automobile companies who were facing steep tariffs on steel and copper and other inputs into the automobile manufacturing process. So I think the hope is that they'll start procuring those components, those raw materials from domestic suppliers, but we need more production and more supply. And so the thinking by, I think, the president is these high tariffs will prompt many of them, encourage many of them to relocate operations into this country, including Japanese automakers that will make more cars here as well. And Americans that make them in Japan move the manufacturing back domestically. Coming right back.
From the Seabird.
Okay, is everybody ready?
I'm ready. Ready here.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Element Wealth Studio. Thanks for joining us. Paul and Hernando says, did you say the late Perez? I certainly didn't mean to. I apologize if I did. Late as in a late regular producer here on the network. May have done that. But Larry and Maya says, do you think Obama will be arrested soon? I don't. That's just my opinion, Larry. I do think that he was involved in orchestrating what appeared to be a borderline coup, honestly. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, says that she's got a bunch of documents that indicate that he and others in the Obama administration, after the election, were involved in planning, honestly, some way to overthrow, you could argue, the president, President Trump, after he was elected in 2016. I think they were just all shocked that Hillary Clinton, she deserves it. She's next in line. She got beat. She went down. She was an awful candidate. She's still whining about it today. Permanently aggrieved. Typical leftist. Believes she's entitled to the office of presidency. It is disturbing, though, to see that the highest levels of our government was potentially involved. I mean, we already know about the Steele dossier and what, by the way, all this other work that went on behind the scenes in those final months under Obama, and then continued on with folks that were still involved in the administration. It's what the D&I director, Tulsi Gabbard, referred to as treason. I think she's somewhat on point there. You just wouldn't expect that in this country. That's the kind of stuff you see in banana republics and not civil institutionalized nations such as this one. And it's a concern. I do think we should see all the evidence. Now, I heard the president in an interview early this morning say that D&I director Tulsi Gabbard informed him, I got lots more. I mean, like thousands of pages of documents that support this, I guess you could call it a theory, an allegation at this point, but certainly it looks like there was foul play going on under Barack Obama. They just couldn't stand. I mean, first, they can't stand Trump. And to me, some of it, Rhino, is that we can't let this outsider come out of nowhere that hasn't been in Washington taking taxpayer money and screwing things up their whole life like a Joe Biden or a Hillary Clinton. We can't possibly confer the highest office in the land to them. They haven't paid their dues, right? Now, when I see stuff like this and this profane-laced rant tirade, if you could call it that, from Hunter Biden, and when you were gone last week, I struggled to get video to you that I wanted to share because it's got language in it we can't play on the air. And I came across more, of course, now that I got the algorithm targeting me. And what's up with the left and the Democrats in this country where they think, and I know you've answered this before, every conversation that they have that's recorded, they feel like they've got to include all this vulgarity. And Hunter Biden, that was outrageous, honestly. It's unbecoming. He may think it's cool. What do you say? They think it makes him look tough or cool or get some attention. And I think we've heard rumblings that Democrat leadership has instructed all these people to go out and use foul language like that. It's more appealing. You've even said that, right, to young people. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's maybe I'm just an old fuddy-duddy. It's not to me. And I'm not trying to be a prude about this whatsoever. But this tirade that Hunter went on, that every other word was the F-bomb, I believe that was a local television channel, right? That was a local reporter. They were sitting opposed to each other in just kind of a casual setting. He couldn't get a dang sentence out without that. And when I see that...
Sounds like a typical crackhead.
Exactly. And why do we... And, and now they're asking Democrats, have you seen this video? Oh, no, I don't pay attention to Hunter Biden. Well, of course. You don't want to be associated with him that happens to be the son of the president.
And it appears it's the only pardon Biden actually signed.
Exactly. That's coming out now. And that wouldn't be a big deal except... I mean, I don't care if the guy's a crackhead and he has bad language, but what I do care about is it does appear that he was engaged in bribery and selling influence. That looks more probable and more believable every day, and there's all kinds of information, as we now know, on this laptop that they say didn't exist. Meanwhile, we got Hillary bleach bidding the servers, and she's the one that truly did collude with the Russians to produce this dossier that she thought would convey to her the office of the presidency, and it didn't. And I still don't know what they mean by all this Russian influence. I may even send you something. There's like a collage that I came across. Did I send that to you? And it's just, here we go. Listen to this.
To elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election.
Russia did hack the election.
No doubt. The Russians hacked the election.
Yes. Russia hacked the election.
Fact, Russia hacked the election.
President-elect Donald Trump still not sounding convinced that Russia hacked the election.
The president does not want to come to terms with the fact that the Russians hacked the election.
President Trump says he still wonders if the Russians hacked the election.
If you can get him to accept that Russia hacked the election, see if you can get him to accept who won the Civil War.
If he admits it, it casts a shadow on his victory over Hillary Clinton.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Let's be clear, Russia hacked the election.
Definitively, Russia hacked the election, and Russia is doing it again now.
Election-related cyber hacking.
Cyber hacking of U.S. elections. Cyber hacking of the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
The CIA, the FBI, NSA.
All of these.
I can't do it anymore.
It's incredible. I mean, that's just
the cyber hacking talking point is what sent me over the edge. I'm just laughing.
It just goes on and on and on. And it's just amazing how obsessed they were with this. And I guess more importantly, how they just absolutely believed it. They could not accept the truth and reality, which is fairly common for that ilk, that you got beat because your candidate sucked.
Well, they were all basing that entire diatribe of Russian election interference on the fact that Mueller was able to find evidence that there was like a dozen Russian, quote-unquote, hackers, tell me if this sounds like they really had to hack a whole lot, that set up a Facebook group that had a grand total of like 17 members and one meetup that one person showed up to. And that somehow influenced the entire national election.
Unbelievable.
That was the evidence they were basing their stupid claims that Russia hacked the election. I didn't realize you had to be a Russian hacker to set up a Facebook group.
But they still believe it to this day, as you know. That hasn't really changed. And Hillary Clinton still running around whining and crying and complaining and clutching her pearls and dashing her teeth and all that sort of stuff. They just can't accept reality. But, you wonder why more wasn't said about this and why they exposed about this in the president's first term. It had just happened. I don't really have an answer for that. It would have been the people that he appointed.
Because nobody was buying it, even though it was wall-to-wall coverage on mainstream media.
Well, right. What I'm talking about is why we didn't see more exposure of Obama and all this information. Like, what is it that...
Because Trump was the only one coming out and saying that Obama had bugged Trump Tower, and they didn't want to believe a word that came out of Trump's mouth.
I guess so. But Director Gibert decided to invest a little time and effort to investigate this further, and now has come forward with all this information that does point to Barack Obama being directly involved. That's scary when you think about a United States president that would go to those kinds of lengths. It could be construed as treason.
It also shows how worthless and feckless Obama and the Democrats are, that they bugged Trump Tower and couldn't find any dirt, so they had to make stuff up.
That is so true. So we can't win legitimately because our candidate sucks. Have I said that today, by the way? She was the worst ever. Maybe even worse than Kamala Harris. It was really bad.
I don't know that I can go that far.
It's a toss-up.
At least Hillary had experience. Kamala was just dumb.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Final segment's coming up on Middays next. Stay with us.
At Key Construction.
It's so awesome! Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Come on, let's get on with the show!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same. Mama, I'm coming home.
On the C Spire text line, CC in Senatobia says, but Kamala loved Venn diagrams and school buses in Merlot. So she had to be so smart. She knows she's rearing her head again. There's more talk today about running for governor of the Golden State of California or entering the presidential race again. And all the polls show, that's awfully early, of course, but show her in the lead among Democrat candidates. That shows you how bad all the Democrat candidates are. But who knows? May see her again.
And she'll come across like a witless wonder once again unless somebody gets in her ear and tells her, look,
yeah,
you got to read the folder full of info before you walk out on stage.
She doesn't do that, though, man. She doesn't have time to be bothered with that kind of stuff. Did we dodge a bullet?
Because her brain didn't get her to the position she made it to.
That's true. That's one way to put it. But did we dodge a big old bullet or not on that deal?
No pun intended.
Yeah, that's true. Had she been the president right now, good grief, what in the world would that look like? It's really something that we're where we are by the grace of God, honestly. So look at the markets. They're still in green territory, looking good. States, by the way, 20 are suing the Trump administration over a regulation that shortens the sign-up periods. They're mad about the health care reforms in the big, beautiful bill. Some of those apply to the Obamacare exchanges, the marketplaces, as they are called. Some of those apply to Medicaid. But mainly they're mad about the states, this suit, 20 of them that are suing, the increase in eligibility verification requirements and the shortened sign-up period are making some states mad. They say that this would cut. This is their argument. Follow the logic here. They say this would cut a lot of people off of the exchanges. They would lose their commercial insurance that's subsidized by the federal government, become uninsured. That would cost states more money to take care of the uninsured. But the other thing they say would be a problem is that they'd lose the insurance premium tax revenue. You see what I'm saying? You know how we have one here. Insurance premiums sold by insurers, they pay taxes to the state. It does produce revenue that goes into the general fund. It's kind of a quid pro quo. You know, that's part of the whole argument about these provider taxes as well. But they pay taxes on insurance premiums. That exists in virtually all the states, if not all the states. So what they're saying is, well, wait, if people are going to have a difficult time keeping their Obamacare private coverage, which they're actually the consumer's paying for it, but the federal government, the taxpayers, are paying way more for it. That's the subsidy since 2010. Well, they're saying if those rolls are decreased, fewer people are buying private insurance. That's less insurance premium tax revenue to the state. Therefore, they're suing over it. You got to think long and hard to come up with that angle, I guess. But somebody said, wait, these people are going to lose their insurance. We're going to lose this money coming into the state.
It just shows they're willing to ignore second-order thinking when it benefits them.
That's exactly right. So
it's not that they're incapable of it. They just ignore it.
That's a good point. So, because you're right, this does require a little second-order thinking. But it's in this case, they're all over it. But when we talk about other things like raising taxes on certain parts of the population or businesses and so forth, and they tend to not understand how that would affect downstream and throughout, and how that would trickle. I know they don't like to use that term. How about filter throughout the economy? They don't want to think about the consequences and the impact of that. Well, but in this case, they have gone to the sort of second order. That's a good point.
They denigrate trickle-down economics because their voting base is a bunch of moochers that never see the benefit of trickle-down economics because they're not willing to lift a finger.
That's absolutely true, and I didn't think about that. But you're absolutely right about that. Well, interesting, because that's kind of where we are. Something I didn't get to today that I've been thinking about a little bit that I'm going to dig into tomorrow, and that's this pursuit of trimming our deficit at the federal level, maybe even, God forbid, balancing the budget. What that would mean at the state level. And again, this is some second-order thinking I guess I've been doing. I'll dig into that tomorrow. I think you'll find that interesting. And don't forget that next week we're at the Neshoba County Fair, both mornings with Richard Cross and middays with me. We're scheduled to be there Thursday, but there are rumors we're going to be there Wednesday as well. Mississippi's Giant House Party. We're out of here today. Back with you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.